in the garage, Toyota engine, getting it reassembled. I'm working on the oil pan today, working on getting all that cleaned up, and one of the things that I've recognized is that as much as I didn't want to have to drop the front suspension to get the oil pan out, to get all that cleaned up, I'm going to have to do that. So there's no way around it. To be able to do this job correctly, you're going to have to pull the oil pan off. If I ever want the oil pan to seal. So that's where we're at. I'm going to crawl under this thing and we'll take a look. Alright, so here comes the not so fun part. I need to clean off the oil pan gasket mating surfaces, get that gasket on, put the pickup tube back in, and then just kind of set it up in here, or get it ready to set up in here so I can get my front cover on. So that's what I'm going to be working on. Alright, I'm tired of wrestling with this oil pan. I'm dropping the differential so I can get the stinking thing out of there, because I'm tired of trying to clean it with no room. So I've got the back 2 bolts out, and I've got 4 bolts in the front here and 2 over here, and that should allow the front differential to drop down. I've got a jack underneath it, so wish me luck. Well, the Milwaukee made short work of these 4 bolts, and I'm going to drop it and see if we can get it to lower down now with the 2 back bolts out and those 4. My hope is that it just drops down enough to get that stupid oil pan out. Alright, I had to take this bolt out on the differential here to let this bar come out, to let it fall out. And now I'm going to lower it. Hopefully it's going to go down far enough to get this stinking oil pan without doing anything else. Awesome. All that work to get the stinking oil pan out of it. Alright, so I got in the weeds trying to clean up this nasty undercarriage and the oil pan. I've got it pretty much sprayed down and degreased, waiting for it to dry off, and I'm working on the oil pan trying to get it cleaned off. But yeah, that kind of derailed me this afternoon. So I worked on this a couple hours, got it super cleaned off, pressure washed, then I sandblasted it, and now it just came out of the oven from the powder coating, and it looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's just cooling off. So the oil pan is got a durable new powder coat finish on it. I love it. Alright, it looks pretty good. I need to clean the gasket surface going around the oil pan. I've got my pickup tube ready to go back in, but before I put my pickup tube on, I think I'm going to go ahead and set my pan back underneath, then put the pickup tube in, because you've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts to hold the pickup tube in, and it'd be easier just to have the pan in place because of the way that it sits in the sump. Alright, here is my beautiful, beautiful powder coated oil pan. It looks absolutely outstanding. And what I'm going to do is take some Permatex high-tech gasket sealer. Now, I used to use Indian head shellac, which is basically the same stuff, very similar. I think the shellac's a little bit thicker than this stuff, but maybe it's not socially acceptable to call it Indian head shellac anymore, because at the parts store they didn't have any. Maybe they're discontinuing it and calling it Super Stickum or something. I don't know. But so I got some Permatex high-tech gasket. I'll go ahead and put that on the oil pan and then set the gasket on. And what that'll do is it'll just keep it in place when I'm trying to install it. Because if you've ever had an oil pan gasket just sliding all over the place trying to get a pan on, you appreciate this stuff. Alright, looks great. You just want to make sure that it doesn't slide and get out of position on your holes, and it'll dry up pretty good. It'll set up pretty well on there and you don't have to worry about it. Yo, 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 boy! You know I got my bling on! I'm gonna be doing some blinging! Or maybe I'm gonna install the timing chain! Unless you've got the most cheap Chinese chain ever made in the history of the world, it's going to have 2 black links right here and right at the top there. You can see it. And that's going to correspond with, there's a dot right here on your top gear, and on the bottom there's a dot on the bottom, and you know that your crank is correct when your keys here are pointing straight up, 90 degree up. So that's where we're going to be at, trying to get this thing set on there. Right there you can see the dot and the black chain, and then you just line up the top one the same way. And once you get it on, you want to double check. There's your dot, there's your black link, and then I'll look down below. There's the black link and the dot. So we are correct as far as our timing goes. Okay, I just got back from the parts store, and I thought I'd share this story with you because it really kind of pissed me off. The first thing I would say is that retardation is really a sad, sad thing. Now, I'm not talking about some poor individual that had some kind of birth defect. God bless them. You know, that is not who I'm talking about. They can't help it, and those people are really special. So let's take them out of the equation. That's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that actually are employed in a job that went to probably some public school and never went to college, even if they did go to college and didn't learn anything. Those are the people, the retardation people that I don't understand, right? So on the Toyota, there's an oil pickup, and on the bottom of it is a gasket right here. Very small. It doesn't come in any sets usually. I got a oil pan gasket, but I didn't get one of these. No one stocked this. And I thought, you know what, I can just make one, which is not that difficult to make. But if I could find one, you know, even easier. So I went on O'Reilly's website and looked it up, and they said, you know, you can order it online and it'll be here Saturday. This was like last Wednesday. So I got online. It was like 50 cents to get this gasket. It said it will be in Saturday morning by 8 o'clock. Awesome. You know, I wasn't ready to put it back together. Today I am. So Saturday morning I go down to O'Reilly's and I said, hey, where's my gasket? And they said, well, did you get an email? No, I never did get an email saying it was in, because that's what the first email said. You'll get an email saying that it's in. I was like, okay. This gasket was 52 cents, I think, right? So I was like, okay. And he's like, well, I don't know where it's at. It shows that it was shipped. I can't find it. I was like, okay. He goes, don't worry about it, though. You're not going to get charged for it until you pick it up. And I was like, okay, great. I bought a roll of gasket material to make my own, right? Because I'm not going to wait around if this thing doesn't show up. So I'm looking at my bank account today to see how much money has been siphoned out by this Toyota project. And I'm going down to get the Indian head shellac that I talked about at O'Reilly's, and I see that there was 52 cents taken out of my freaking bank account. I said, wow, that's weird. I haven't picked it up, so why did they charge me for it? He said they wouldn't. So I get up to the counter with my Indian head shellac, and I was just like, hey, not a big deal, but what happened with this gasket? I've been charged for it. I never got it, blah, blah, blah. There's this guy over on the side. He says, your name David? And I said, yeah, my name's David. He goes, oh, here it is right here. I got a special order for you. And I'm like, oh, okay. He goes, this has been sitting here a week. Well, there's a lot of things that went through my head. But the first one was, I said, well, I came in last Saturday to get it, and they said they couldn't find it. I said, secondly, they said they weren't going to charge me for it unless I picked it up. He says, oh, he goes, well, they're not supposed to. And I was like, okay. I said, well, it's been charged me. He goes, oh, do you want your money back? And I go, no, I needed the gasket. And I actually got another one from Yoda Shop online. I'm going to put a link down to them. They have a lot of really cool Toyota stuff. Anyway, back to the main story. So he hands me the gasket and the picking ticket. And I was just like, huh. And I was like, so it's been sitting there all week? He goes, yeah, I wondered when you were going to come pick it up. And I said, well, you know, the funny thing is, I said, there's my damn phone number right there on the ticket. I said, if this has been sitting up there a week, did you not think to pick up the phone and call me and say, hey, I got your gasket in? I said, because if you don't call me, how am I supposed to know that it's here? Does any of that make any sense at all? If this special order has been sitting on the counter for a week, and it's been charged out, that you can't call this number on the thing and say, hey, we got your gasket? I don't even need it now. Retardation is a bad thing. Do you get where I'm coming from? Even at the parts stores that I like, there are people there that don't know what they're doing and have no common sense. Because if you have common sense, you would say, there's a special order here. They haven't picked it up. Let me give them a call, since they have an account here and the phone number's listed. There's no excuse that no one called me. And he finally looked at me and goes, yeah, I hear you. So, I mean, will I ever special order anything from O'Reilly's again? Abso-freaking-lutely not. Will I still shop there? Yes. Will I contact their customer service? No, probably not, because I don't want everybody to get into trouble. But what I will say is that common sense goes a long way. Now, I'm going to get back to putting the chain back on the Toyota, but thank you for listening and letting me get that off my chest, because I just shake my head. I just shake my head. Alright, the timing chain's on, the two guides are on, the tensioner's on. It's all lined up, ready to go. Now I'm working on the timing chain cover, and this is no fun, no bueno. They're all different sizes. Now I've got a chart that tells me which one is what, and I'm trying to go through and make sure that I've got all the correct bolts. Some of these were the wrong bolts in it before. I'm trying to make sure they're right. So I'm cleaning up the bolts, and then we're going to start assembly. This is the old one. Putting the new cover on and the oil pan, and we will be much better off. Then we will be moving forward. And then that'll be the last thing. And that'll be one less thing. I have all my beautiful oil pan bolts, and they have actually been powder coated on the heads. Yay, but not the threads, because you don't want to do that. It's quite helpful to have a caliper. I got this one on eBay, to be able to measure the nuts and bolts to make sure you're getting the right one in the right place, because some of these would bottom out if you had too long of a bolt. Alright, I used the old one as a bolt holder, and I've found most of the bolts. Some of them were the wrong bolts to start with that had extra washers and stuff, and I'm going to correct that. So I've got to get a couple more bolts tomorrow, mostly the M10x60s, which is this one here. I only had one of those that are the correct size. This one's a lot longer than it should be, and it had a bunch of extra washers on it. So let's de-jank that and get it fixed correctly, and then this thing will be ready to go back on. Okay, well, I am worn the frick out. I got the timing chain on, the tensioner's on, I got a lot of parts cleaned up. I got to go buy a couple more bolts, and then we're ready to zip that thing on. At least it's organized, and I'll know which bolts go where. That'll be the water pump, the oil pump, harmonic balancer. A lot of stuff is going to come together pretty quickly once I get the bolts ready to go. So awesome. It's like really time consuming fooling with those stupid things. If they were all one size, that would make it so much easier. But engineer Johnny decided to come up with a whole different plan of making every bolt a different size. I really appreciate you being a subscriber. Thanks. Any comments, questions, post them below. The Yoda is coming back together. I'm David from the Redneck Garage. Keep turning wrenches.